fly like birds, I'll fly so high to reach you, to be near you. Years will pass and leaves will fall, all the seas will dry. You know the snow will slowly melt, but my love will never die.
Sarah and Jacob Hoggle missing for 10 years. Where are they? Sarah Grace Hoggle NCIC #M8621479888, Namas number 28541 missing since September 7, 2014 missing from Gaithersburg, Maryland classification endangered missing sex female race biracial, black, white date of birth November 20, 2010 age now, 13, age 3 years old height and weight 3 feet 6 inches, 40 pounds clothing/jewelry description a pink tank top and blue shorts. Associated vehicles gray 2007 Nissan Rogue, accounted for. Distinguishing characteristics biracial, African American/Caucasian, female. Brown hair, brown eyes. Jacob Gabriel Hoggle NCIC #M0221899204, Namas number 28539 missing since September 7, 2014 missing from Gaithersburg, Maryland classification endangered missing sex male race biracial, black, white date of birth July 3, 2012 age now, 12, age, 2 years old height and weight 3 feet 0 inches, 30 pounds clothing/jewelry description a white shirt and blue shorts. Associated vehicles gray 2007 Nissan Rogue, accounted for. Distinguishing characteristics biracial, African American/Caucasian, male. Light brown to blonde hair, brown eyes. Jacob's photo is shown to be age progressed to 12 years. Sarah's photo has been age progressed to 13 years. Jacob was last seen on September 7, 2014 at approximately 4 p.m. Sarah was last seen on September 8, 2014 at approximately 5 a.m. Jacob was last known to be wearing a white t-shirt and blue shorts. Sarah was last known to be wearing a pink tank top and blue shorts. Montgomery County Police Department, Maryland, 1-240-773-5070 NCMEC, 123-7561.
Timeline of the missing children case of Sarah and Jacob Hoggle September 7, 2014 There has been no confirmed contact with the two children since the afternoon of September 7. Catherine Hoggle told her husband that she took Jacob, then 2, to get pizza and that she took Sarah, then 3, to daycare the next morning September 8, 2014. Montgomery County Police are searching for a missing Clarksburg woman and her 2 young children. Catherine Hoggle, 27, and her children, 2-year-old Jacob Hoggle and 3-year-old Sarah Hoggle, disappeared over the last 2 days. Troy Turner, Catherine Hoggle's common-law husband, reported her and 2 of their 3 children missing about 8 p.m. Monday. Police say Hoggle is diagnosed as having paranoid schizophrenia, but during a press conference Tuesday, Assistant Police Chief Russ Hamill declined to elaborate. The families expressed to us that there are some mental health concerns regarding the mother, so I am deeply concerned here over their welfare, Hamill said. Police are particularly worried about the 18-hour gap between the time Jacob was last seen and when his father reported him missing, and less concerned about the conflicting accounts. Hoggle had given relatives about her children's whereabouts. We've got 2 missing children. We've got their picture, we've got their mother's picture. Let's get that out there and get them back, Hamill said. We need the eyes and ears of the community to help us find these 2 little children and bring them safely home. Jacob went missing Sunday when Hoggle told her mother she was taking the boy with her to get some pizza. She returned to her mother's Gaithersburg home about 3 hours later, but did not have pizza or Jacob. Hoggle said she left the 2-year-old at a known playmate's house, according to police. However, police later determined that the boy never went to a friend's home during that time. On Monday at about 5:50 a.m., Hoggle told Turner that she was dropping off Sarah at a daycare center. She returned home more than 2 hours later and said that she had dropped off both Sarah and Jacob at daycare. Turner, who works overnight, did not know that the little boy had not returned home the previous night, according to police. Later Monday, Turner told his wife he wanted to pick up the children. When she wouldn't tell Turner about where the children were, he decided that they would go to the police station to ask for assistance. Before going to the police station, the couple stopped at a restaurant near the Germantown Transit Center. But Hoggle left the restaurant without her husband, who then called police. A bloodhound track indicated that Hoggle had exited the restaurant and walked to the transit center, police say. Hoggle is described as white, 5'6", and weighing 160 pounds. She has brown eyes and shoulder-length black hair. She was last seen wearing blue jeans and a black tank top. Sarah is described as a biracial girl who is 3'6" and weighs 40 pounds. She has brown eyes and medium-length brown hair. Jacob is described as a biracial boy who is 3 feet tall and weighs 25 pounds. He has brown eyes and a curly, blonde afro. Police say it is possible that one of Hoggle's friends is watching the children and may not realize that the children are missing. Anyone with information about the whereabouts of Catherine Hoggle or the children is asked to call 911. September 10, 2014 warrant issued. A warrant was issued for Catherine Hoggle's arrest, charging her with misdemeanor neglect. Montgomery County Police have obtained an arrest warrant for a missing Clarksburg woman. Catherine Hoggle, 27, is charged with child neglect, a misdemeanor charge punishable with up to 5 years in prison or a $5,000 fine, according to police. Hoggle and 2 of her young children remain missing. Anyone with information about where they could be is asked to call 911. Wednesday, September 10, 2014, 4:24 p.m. ET. A Maryland mother whose 2 children haven't been seen since Sunday has been charged with misdemeanor child neglect. Montgomery County Police say they obtained a warrant charging 27-year-old Catherine Hoggle on Wednesday. Police are searching for Hoggle and 2 of her children, 3-year-old Sarah Hoggle and 2-year-old Jacob Hoggle. Police say Catherine Hoggle slipped away from her common-law husband on Monday afternoon after she was not forthcoming about the children's whereabouts. Police say Hoggle was captured briefly on video in downtown Germantown early Tuesday morning, but there's been no sign of the children since Sunday. Police have said Hoggle is diagnosed as having paranoid schizophrenia. September 12, 2014 Mom found. September 12, 2014 Catherine Hoggle was found and arrested in Germantown. But the children were not with her. Police are building a homicide case against Catherine Hoggle as the search continues for her children who have been missing for more than a week. Montgomery County Police are asking residents in Darnestown and Clarksburg to search their property. Montgomery County Police continue to question Catherine Hoggle, a 27-year-old mother who went missing with her 2-year-old and 3-year-old last week. Hoggle was found in Germantown, Maryland, and taken into custody on Friday. Her 2 children were not with her. Police questioned Hoggle, who is suffering from paranoid schizophrenia, for 16 hours throughout the day on Saturday, in hopes of locating the children, who have been missing for almost a week. Police received a 911 call from a resident on Friday, who said that Hoggle was walking in the area of Century Boulevard and Crystal Rock Drive. She appeared to have spent several days and nights on the streets. The caller said her boyfriend had just spoken to Hoggle, who had asked him for the time. Hoggle, of Clarksburg, Maryland, has been charged with 2 counts of child neglect, obstruction and hindering. Tweets from Montgomery County Police reveal that Hoggle attempted to flee when police tried to apprehend her. She also had the police's missing persons flyer in her possession and altered her appearance by changing her hair, police say. There are currently 8 search teams spanning an area from Darnestown to Clarksburg, Maryland, looking for missing 2-year-old Jacob and 3-year-old Sarah. Residents in these areas have been asked by Montgomery County Police to lend to the search effort. According to the Washington Post, there has been no confirmed contact with Jacob since 4 p.m. September 7 and no confirmed contact with Sarah since 9:30 p.m. that day. Montgomery County Police Captain Paul Stark spoke with reporters during a press conference on Saturday. He said a disheveled-looking Hoggle was questioned. September 13, 2014 obstruction charge added. Catherine Hoggle is also charged with obstruction. September 14, 2014 Police fear children dead. September 15, 2014 Police say they fear the children are dead. Catherine Hoggle is also charged with parental abduction. Police say they believe 2 young children who've been missing in suburban Maryland for more than a week are dead, and they're pursuing a homicide case against their mother. Montgomery County Police will continue to search parks and wooded areas in Clarksburg and Darnestown for 3-year-old Sarah Hoggle and 2-year-old Jacob Hoggle today, officials said during a morning news conference. We keep a ray of hope that Sarah and Jacob are still out there, said Captain Darren Frank, who leads the Major Crimes Division. The children's mother, 27-year-old Catherine Hoggle of Clarksburg, was arrested Friday and faces charges of child neglect and obstruction. Additionally, Hoggle was charged Monday with 2 counts of parental abduction. According to the abduction charging documents, Hoggle initially told police that she had taken the children to the home of a high school friend but that she didn't have the woman's phone number, address or last name. She later changed her story and took police to a playground in Germantown, where she said she had left her children alone. Police have searched as many as 13,000 acres in their effort to find the children. They also questioned Hoggle extensively this weekend and even brought her common-law husband Troy Turner into the interview room to demand that she release the children. But she refused to tell police where the children were, Frank said. Police believed Hoggle acted alone. She told them that she had a plan and that the children were safe. But she has not been in contact with them. She's not going to tell you where they are. She thinks she's protecting her kids, says Turner, who believes that his children are still alive. Hoggle's family believed that she had stopped taking her medication for her diagnosed paranoid schizophrenia. But Hoggle told investigators that she hadn't stopped taking her medication and she appeared lucid throughout the interviews. During a court hearing Monday afternoon, a judge agreed that Hoggle could be examined by a state mental health doctor. Investigators hope the preliminary competency exam could yield new leads and information, says Montgomery County State's Attorney John McCarthy. A bond review hearing was rescheduled for later this month. In the meantime, Hoggle remains held in lieu of $1,020,000 bail. Also Monday, police asked that residents in Darnestown and Clarksburg check their properties for any signs of the children, who are expected to be together. Police want property owners to check wood lines for evidence, sheds for any signs of forced entry or if brush has been disturbed. If you find what we unfortunately believe you will find, we would ask that you back away immediately. Do not touch anything, Frank said. He asked anyone who finds either the children or any possible evidence to call 911. September 19, 2014. Volunteers joined search. Volunteers were amassing for an on-foot search for missing local children Sarah and Jacob Hoggle on Saturday morning and will continue on Sunday, beginning 8:30 a.m., if they come up short. WTOP spoke with the sister of Catherine Hoggle, 27, who was in jail and charged with 2 counts of child neglect and obstruction, reportedly suffering from schizophrenia. Hoggle has so far refused to tell police where her 2 children are. Police said Monday they believe the children are dead and were building a homicide case against her. Her sister Carly Hoggle, who was manning a table at the staging area Saturday, told WTOP that her sister is much more than mental illness. She is kind, she is caring, she is an incredible mother, she loves her kids so much. The search is open to the public. Volunteers met Saturday morning in the parking lot of Seneca Valley High School in Germantown, Maryland. Volunteers, who came from all over the community, were given directions on how to focus search efforts, including flyer distribution and hiking local trails. They were also given a specific area to cover with other volunteers. Germantown resident Alan Smith came to the search with his dog Kelly Saturday morning. "We're here to help the father find his young ones, and that is what my dog and I are here to do, and we'll do our very best." Police have already searched more than 14,000 acres of the area and recently expanded the search to now include Germantown and vicinity. The community search was billed as a group effort to supplement the work the Montgomery County Police Department is already conducting to find the Hoggle children and bring them home to their family, according to Montgomery County Police. Both Jacob and Sarah have been missing from the Gaithersburg area for almost 2 weeks. They were last seen with their mother, Catherine Hoggle, who was detained last Friday night and has been in police custody since. Catherine Hoggle is now being charged in the disappearance of her 2 children. Sarah is described as a biracial female, 3 feet 6 tall, weighing 40 pounds, with brown eyes and medium-length brown hair. Jacob Hoggle is described as a biracial male, 3 feet 0 tall, weighing 25 pounds, with brown eyes and a curly, blonde afro hairstyle. Any volunteer is asked to practice safety measures while at this event, including wear proper gear. For hikers that means boots, pants, hats, bright colors, and for other search volunteers are asked to wear sneakers or comfortable walking shoes. Stay hydrated. Ensure personal safety while volunteering by bringing a cell phone. There is a cash reward for information leading directly to the safe return of Sarah and Jacob. For more information on the search and donations for Sarah and Jacob Hoggle, January 5, 2015 Mental health treatment begins. Catherine Hoggle begins an intensive treatment program at the Clifton T. Perkins Hospital Center in Jessup to help stabilize her so that she regains her mental competency to stand trial. April 18, 2015 Police resume search for Jacob. Sarah. Police resume the search for Sarah and Jacob with the help of police dogs, all-terrain vehicles and horses. April 30, 2015 A judge again finds Catherine Hoggle not mentally competent to stand trial. Similar findings are made in July and September of 2015 and again in June 2016. February 22, 2016 At the request of State's Attorney John McCarthy, a judge ordered Hoggle to appear for another competency hearing. A Montgomery County District Court judge has ordered a competency hearing for Catherine Hoggle, the mother of 2 young children and the last known person to see them when they disappeared in September 2014. Montgomery County State's Attorney John McCarthy requested the hearing to challenge the findings of doctors at Clifton T. Perkins Hospital, who in a February report concluded that Hoggle remains incompetent to stand trial. Outside the courtroom, McCarthy said this is the first time he has ever challenged the findings of the Perkins evaluators in a competency hearing, although he has questioned findings when the state doctors found a dependent not criminally responsible, Maryland's version of innocent by reason of insanity. In a competency hearing, the judge could question Hoggle about whether she understands the charges against her to determine whether she can assist her attorneys in her defense. Hoggle's attorney, David Felsen, argued the doctors at Perkins, the state's mental hospital in criminal cases, had already determined his client is incompetent. McCarthy told District Court Judge John Moffitt that Hoggle has expressed a firm grasp of her legal situation in discussions with the children's father, Troy Turner, and Hoggle's mother, Lindsay. Felsen told reporters the affidavits of Turner, Hoggle's mother, and an aunt don't reflect the psychotic thinking of his client. Felsen says Hoggle wants to go home and be with her children. Hoggle has previously said she left her children with a friend. Prosecutors and police have not revealed any evidence of the children's well-being, although McCarthy and the children's father have acknowledged the possibility they could be dead. Hoggle is presently charged with misdemeanors, neglect, hindering, and obstruction in the children's disappearance. Asked why he hasn't charged Hoggle with murder, McCarthy declined to speak about this case, but said charging with a more serious crime at this point would eliminate his ability to use a grand jury in a fact-finding capacity. Hoggle's lawyer has argued if the misdemeanor charges will never go to trial, his client should be released. The competency hearing is scheduled for April 25. Another search. April 1, 2016 Sarah and Jacob's father, Troy Turner, and other family members organize another 2-day search. Montgomery County family launches new search for missing children. 2 Montgomery County children have been missing for more than a year, but their family hasn't given up hope. After launching their own investigation into the children's disappearance, the family led a new search of the 253-acre Goshen Recreational Park in Montgomery County on Saturday and will be there again on Sunday. We just feel like there's an area that's been missed that would actually have a high possibility of being a place that she would take them to, if she did something to them, said Troy Turner, the children's father. Jacob and Sarah were last with their mother, Catherine Hoggle, in September 2014 and haven't been seen since. Their mother suffers from paranoid schizophrenia and is at a psychiatric facility. She has only said the children are with a friend. Since their disappearance, the children's father has continued to search, and with the help of a private investigator, he has tried to retrace the steps of Catherine Hoggle on the day the kids disappeared. We feel like the information is there, it's either been interpreted wrong or, God forbid, it's actually been missed due to missteps in the beginning, Turner said. Turner said he still holds on to hope that his children are alive, but he says the search of the park is not for living children. We look as hard as we can and pray we find nothing, he said. Turner said he won't stop searching for his children and is planning similar events later this year. That doesn't even cross my mind to give up on my children in way, shape or form, he said. Turner is asking for volunteers to help them with the search. Next hearing September 27, 2016 Catherine Hoggle's next scheduled court date. She remains at the Clifton T. Perkins Hospital Center, where she has been held since her arrest 2 years ago. Her family has said she suffers from schizophrenia. Judge, mother of missing children still incompetent to stand trial. Catherine Hoggle, the last person to see 2 young children when they disappeared in September 2014, is still incompetent to stand trial for their disappearance, say doctors at the state's maximum security mental health hospital. In a brief hearing Tuesday morning, Montgomery County District Court Judge Eugene Wolfe said a recent report from Hoggle's doctors at Clifton T. Perkins Hospital Center in Jessup, Maryland, says they believe Hoggle is still unable to assist in her own defense. Hoggle is charged with abduction, neglect and hindering the investigation into the disappearance of her children, Sarah and Jacob, who were 3 and 2 when last seen. Police, prosecutors and the children's father, Troy Turner, suspects Hoggle killed her children, but she has not been charged for that crime. Hoggle has only said her children are safe, with a friend. Defense attorney David Felsen would not comment on the specifics of the most recent report about Hoggle, who has a history of paranoid schizophrenia. He was asked outside of court whether he believes his client is getting better. "I can't say, I'm not a doctor," said Felsen. "I think there are some things that have been consistent since her original detention in this case, and there are some things that have changed." Felsen has said his client is being given medication in an attempt to restore her competency. Prosecutors have previously stated they believe Hoggle is malingering. Outside the courthouse, Hoggle's mother, Lindsay, who has told the judge she believes her daughter understands the legal issues facing her, expressed disappointment. "This is just unacceptable that we continue to not have Catherine competent," Lindsay Hoggle said. The judge ordered Hoggle returned to court September 27, or earlier if her doctors determine she is competent. September 15, 2017. Dad of missing Hoggle children loses hope they're alive. "Catherine killed my babies. For 3 years, Troy Turner held out hope his children were alive, a belief he knew rang counter to logic. Jacob, 2, and Sarah, 3, hadn't been seen since they disappeared from Montgomery County in September 2014. The last person known to be with them, their mother and Turner's then-girlfriend, Catherine Hoggle, suffered from deep mental illness. Detectives quickly viewed her as responsible for the children's deaths. "There has always been a faint hope," Turner said Friday. "And I know now, with the passage of time, that Catherine killed my babies," Turner spoke to reporters after a hearing in Montgomery County Circuit Court, a proceeding prompted by an indictment the day before charging Hoggle, 30, with 2 counts of murder. Those charges confirmed repeated indications from police and prosecutors during the long-running case of the children's fate. Since 2014, Hoggle has been locked in a state psychiatric hospital, held on misdemeanor charges of neglect, abduction and hindering in connection with Jacob and Sarah's disappearances. Doctors have said she is not mentally fit to participate in a trial. The murder charges prompted a review of her bond conditions, and on Thursday, Hoggle was driven by law enforcement from the maximum security Clifton T. Perkins Hospital Center, in Jessup, MD, to the Montgomery County Detention Center in Rockville. For Friday's hearing, she appeared via a video feed from the jail. She said little and stared blankly from the screen into the courtroom. Her attorney, David Felsen, and the county's lead prosecutor, John McCarthy, agreed that Hoggle should be sent back to Perkins for further evaluation and treatment. "They're trying to look for that cocktail of medications that will create synthetic competency, so that we can move forward on these matters," McCarthy said. "There is no question that she belongs in a hospital," Felsen said after the hearing, and also said Hoggle deserves a vigorous defense. "We're not aware of any evidence linking Ms. Hoggle with any homicide." Earlier, Catherine Hoggle keeps trying to escape from psychiatric hospital. A former waitress with an IQ once tested at 135, Hoggle has refused to tell detectives and family members what might have happened to Jacob and Sarah. It is difficult to say when, or if, she would be found well enough to go to trial. Hoggle's mother, Lindsay Hoggle, also attended the court hearing Friday. After, she said she believes that her 2 grandchildren are still alive and that her daughter worked with others under a plan to flee the area with her children. "I don't think she's guilty of murder," Lindsay Hoggle said. "She has not been able to visit her daughter at Perkins," she said, because Catherine Hoggle has not put her on a visitor list. Lindsay Hoggle said she last spoke to her daughter by phone during a 6-month stretch in 2016. "This needs to be resolved," Lindsay Hoggle recalled telling her, adding that when she asked about the children, Catherine would say simply, "They're safe." The case of the Hoggle children burst into the open in the fall of 2014, when Montgomery police officials held a news conference asking for the public's help in a harrowing hunt they'd just started. 3 people were missing, a mother and her 2 young children. At the time, Turner was desperately trying to find all 3. Several days later, police spotted Hoggle walking alone down a street in Germantown. She tried to run but was quickly taken into custody. Hoggle wouldn't tell police where the children were, according to arrest records. She was charged with the misdemeanor counts, placed in the county jail, and later transferred to Perkins. Once she was hospitalized, the legal case against her slowed. Prosecutors also weren't in a hurry, given that they probably would face the challenge of proving a murder case with absent bodies. Experts on such no-body murder trials say the more time that passes without the victims being found alive, the easier it can be for prosecutors to convince a jury that the victims must have been killed. The murder charges Thursday against Hoggle were prompted by a looming legal deadline. Her original misdemeanor charges carried a 3-year limit on how long someone can be held while designated as mentally unfit for trial, McCarthy said. The new charges, much more serious felonies, mean Hoggle can be held for an additional 5 years while being designated mentally incompetent, according to McCarthy. He said he hoped that with the right treatment and medication, Hoggle could be restored to competency and taken to trial on the murder counts. The issue of competency is one of 2 large areas of criminal law and mental health in Maryland. The second is the insanity defense, which holds that if a person was so mentally impaired during the commission of crime that he or she didn't know they were breaking the law, the suspects can be declared not criminally responsible. For such defendants, being found not criminally responsible can mean the difference between staying in a psychiatric hospital rather than a prison. Felsen said no decision has been made about whether to pursue a not criminally responsible defense. The issues of criminal responsibility, whether for misdemeanors or felonies in this case, are certainly on the table. Felsen said January 8, 2018 inside the desperate search for Sarah and Jacob Hoggle, missing for 3 years. Troy Turner has pushed search efforts, distributed missing persons flyers and launched a Facebook campaign to collect clues about his kid's disappearance. Troy Turner has a vivid memory of the happy family day just before his 2 youngest children vanished 3 years ago. After their older brother's soccer game, Sarah, 3, and Jacob, 2, accompanied their parents on a visit to the park. I have a ton of pictures from that day where the kids are having fun, their father says. It was September 7, 2014, and Turner, 45, left his kids and their mother, 31-year-old Catherine Hoggle, at Catherine's mother's home in Gaithersburg, Maryland, before going to work around 2:30 p.m. It was part of a system of oversight he'd worked out for himself, given Catherine's prior struggles with mental illness for which he says she was taking medication after a hospitalization and diagnosis of schizoaffective disorder, akin to schizophrenia. They were watching TV and playing with wooden blocks, Turner recalls of his kids. The last thing I did was hug them, kiss them all and tell them I love them and that Daddy can't wait to get home to see them. It also was the last time he saw Sarah and Jacob. Their mother, now charged with their murder and committed by the court to a state psychiatric hospital, has offered no proof about what became of them. According to police investigating the case, Catherine left her mother's home that day in 2014 around 4 p.m., saying she was taking Jacob out to get pizza. 3 hours later, without either Jacob or pizza, she returned to say she had dropped him off at a playmate's house for a sleepover. She then took Sarah and the couple's older son back to her own home. Turner, a timeshare senior sales representative, returned from work around midnight, too tired to carry out his usual routine of checking in on each child to kiss them goodnight, an omission he regrets still, because he awoke the next morning to discover Jacob, Sarah and their mother all gone. When Catherine eventually returned, she claimed she'd dropped the 2 kids at a new child care center. But later, as she directed Turner from place to place with no sign of the children, his frustration grew. "Where are my kids?" he demanded. With growing panic, Turner steered his vehicle toward the police station. Catherine asked him to stop at a fast food restaurant, and after texting her mother that the missing kids were fine, she disappeared herself, not to re-emerge for several days when she was found wandering the streets and taken into custody. For 3 years Catherine faced misdemeanor charges as battles unfolded in court over her mental competency, and she remained in a psychiatric hospital. With those charges set to expire, the prosecutor upgraded the allegation in September to murder, a charge for which Catherine has not yet entered a plea while the courts still consider her to be not competent. As she sits in the hospital, she is innocent, says her attorney, David Felsen. Her next hearing will be in 2018. Turner, meanwhile, has pushed search efforts, distributed missing persons flyers and launched a Facebook campaign to spread the word and collect clues. None of it has brought resolution. He describes Sarah as his tomboy princess because she loved wrestling with her father and brothers as much as she loved playing with her dollhouse in her pink bedroom with the purple accents. Jacob, he says, was the sweetest soul ever born, so affectionate and compassionate even at his young age that when his older brother was put in timeout, Jacob would go sit with him so he wouldn't be lonely. "I've just really tried to hold out hope because those are my babies, and who wants to admit their babies are gone," says Turner, adding, "I don't know of any scenario where they could even be alive at this point." She killed my children. Father of missing Hoggle kids Troy Turner speaks out on the 4th anniversary of the disappearance of his kids, Sarah and Jacob Hoggle. 4 years after the disappearance of Sarah and Jacob Hoggle, now 7 and 6 years old, respectively, most questions remain unanswered, especially for the children's father, Troy Turner. Jacob was last seen with his mother, Catherine Hoggle, on September 7, 2014, in Darnestown or Clarksburg. Sarah was last seen with Hoggle on the morning of September 8, 2014. Hoggle's family says she was mentally ill and was making plans to leave the area, so she told them she gave the young children to someone for safekeeping. On September 12, 2014, Hoggle was found alone and arrested in Germantown. Her children have not been seen since. Hoggle was indicted on 2 counts of murder in their disappearance in 2017 and ordered held without bond at a state psychiatric hospital, where she remains after being declared unfit to stand trial. Turner now believes Hoggle killed their children. "She killed my children, and it hurts to say it every time I say it, but logically, that's the only real conclusion you can come to if you actually look at it," Turner told the station. Hoggle will again appear before a judge in November to determine if she's competent to stand trial. Her attorney, David Felson of Felson and Sargent LLC, told Musa Hoggle has been found unfit to stand trial in the past because doctors don't believe she is able to aid in her own defense. "In Maryland, it's basically a 2-part test," Felson told the station. "The second part is that they have to be able to aid in their own defense. And it's really that second part that the court has found, as a result of the doctor's reports, that Catherine has difficulty with. Prosecutors have suggested Hoggle is malingering and they're building a murder case against her." Turner has maintained that Catherine is acting a part so she can avoid trial on the felony charges. On social media, Turner has said that Catherine tried at least 8 times in 1 year to escape from her maximum security facility, either by tying bedsheets together or taking a security card from staffers. Hoggle is a schizophrenic who reportedly refused to stay on her medication. Turner has said in interviews and on social media that Catherine understands her situation based on conversations with her, and that she should be questioned in court about the children's fate. September 8, 2019. 5 years missing. The Hoggle children disappeared 5 years ago. Now their accused killer may walk free. Catherine Hoggle is accused of murdering her 2 young children Jacob and Sarah, but those charges could soon be dropped. Jacob and Sarah Hoggle disappeared 5 years ago, but their mother could walk free without ever standing trial for their murder. On Saturday a vigil was held in their honor, something that happens every year in the same Germantown, Maryland parking lot. "My kids deserve this, and they have to have a voice," Jacob and Sarah's father, Troy Turner, said. "As their father I have to be that lead voice. But the more people the louder their voice and the more likely they scream, the more likely they are to get justice." Catherine Hoggle was the last person to see the children and has been confined to a mental hospital since their disappearance in 2014. Following their disappearance, she was originally facing misdemeanor charges. But under state law a person can only be held for 3 years, it's longer for murder. In 2017, the state's attorney indicted Hoggle through the grand jury for the murder of her 2 children. That changed the time held to 5 years. Maryland law requires felony charges to be dropped if someone is incompetent 5 years after being charged with a felony. Since their disappearance, doctors have repeatedly found Hoggle incompetent to stand trial because of her mental illness. "I know she killed my kids," Turner said. "So, hope to bring them home. There is hope that they're alive. No. She killed my children. That hope is still alive, with people coming from across Maryland to hear their names, see their faces and share the message that the Hoggle children need to come home. It's really sad," Bonnie Frizzy said. "I think a lot of people have heard about and want to make sure they're treated the way they should be." Despite massive searches, police have never been able to find their bodies. But Turner said he won't give up on his children. September 7, 2020. Voice taken away. Vigil set for missing Hoggle children. Nearly 6 years have passed since Catherine Hoggle told police her two missing children were alive and safe, but wouldn't provide their location. Hoggle, the last known person to see Sarah, 3, and Jacob, 2, alive, was arrested in September 2014 and indicted 3 years later on murder charges. She has never provided the location of her children, has repeatedly been found mentally unfit to stand trial, and lives at the maximum security Clifton T. Perkins Hospital Center in Jessup. Today, her children's father, Troy Turner, continues to fight for the toddlers to have a voice in a court system he says shields their killer. "The fact that my kids have zero rights and Catherine is so protected, is just shameful," he said. "It's about the murder of my children." Turner, who lives in Montgomery County, was born in Cumberland where he has relatives in the area. Hoggle's murder case is currently stayed in the courts as she appeals a judge's decision to not dismiss charges against her. The appeals case is set to be heard in February. Meanwhile, a candlelight vigil will be held for Sarah and Jacob at 7:30 p.m. Monday in Germantown. Details are on the Justice for Sarah and Jacob Facebook page. The event will give the children a voice that was taken away from them, Turner said. "We continue to miss them more and more," he said. "I'm always hopeful that we'll find answers." A GoFundMe account has also been started to help fund the continued search for the children. "They deserve to come home no matter what happened," Turner said, and added that Montgomery County Police have been working very hard to find answers, and have not given up. September 1, 2021. Maryland mother accused of killing her two kids loses appeal to dismiss murder charges. Catherine Hoggle was declared incompetent to stand trial in December 2017. Under Maryland law, charges would have to be dismissed after 5 years. A Maryland mother arguing that prosecutors had run out of time to try her in the deaths of two of her children lost her motion to dismiss the case Wednesday, according to a Maryland Court of Special Appeals decision. Catherine Hoggle is the last person to have seen her children, Jacob and Sarah Hoggle, since they disappeared from Montgomery County 7 years ago. She was deemed incompetent to stand trial for murder on December 1, 2017 and committed to a healthcare facility. Under Maryland law, charges against her would have to be dropped after 5 years if she continues to be deemed incompetent. However, Hoggle was first found incompetent in 2015 after she was charged with child abduction. Those misdemeanor charges were later dismissed. Hoggle's lawyers thus filed a motion to dismiss, arguing the 5-year clock expired in 2020. But the court's new opinion says the statutory 5-year period for dismissal of the murder charges began when the circuit court found that the defendant was incompetent to stand trial on murder charges, not when the district court had found the defendant incompetent to stand trial on the misdemeanor charges. "We conclude that the circuit court did not err when it denied Hoggle's motion to dismiss the indictment," Judge Kevin Arthur wrote in the opinion. The circuit court correctly concluded that the 5-year period for dismissal of the murder charges began on December 1, 2017, when the circuit court found her incompetent to stand trial on those charges. "We affirm the order denying the motion to dismiss." Wednesday's ruling means Montgomery County State's Attorney John McCarthy would have until December 2022 to bring the case to trial, if Hoggle is ever ruled competent to stand trial. In July 2019, a Maryland judge granted the prosecution's motion for a new psychiatrist to assess whether or not Hoggle was competent to stand trial. The prosecution's own independent expert said in 2020 that Hoggle was so mentally ill that she was described as not restorable, according to court documents. "I know she killed my kids," said Jacob and Sarah's father Troy Turner after the February 2020 hearing. Despite massive searches, police have never been able to find their bodies. But Turner said he won't give up. November 30, 2022. Maryland judge drops murder charges against Catherine Hoggle in case of missing children. Catherine Hoggle is suspected of killing two of her children, Jacob and Sarah, in September 2014 in Montgomery County, Maryland. A Maryland woman suspected for years of killing her two young children will not stand trial in their deaths after a judge ruled Wednesday she remains incompetent and dismissed the murder charges against her due to state law. Catherine Hoggle is suspected of killing two of her 3 children, Jacob and Sarah, after they disappeared from Montgomery County in 2014. The children, who were just 2 and 3 years old at the time, have never been found. Over the past 8 years, the county court system has repeatedly deemed Hoggle not mentally competent to stand trial. Police have said she's refused to cooperate, and prosecutors have accused her of faking the extent of her mental illness. This system is broken. Whenever someone can murder 2 children and then be treated as a regular patient, be given more rights than the kids, or the survivors around them who they've affected, there's something really wrong, Sarah and Jacob's father, Troy Turner, said Wednesday after the judge's ruling. The judge ordered for Hoggle to be involuntarily committed to a psychiatric institution civilly as she remains a danger to herself and others. Hoggle, who had been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia before the children went missing, has been held in a maximum security psychiatric hospital since her arrest in 2014. Under Maryland law, if Hoggle was not found competent by Thursday, her murder charges must be dropped due to the state's 5-year limitation. Hoggle was first found incompetent December 1, 2017. An appeals court ruled in 2021 that prosecutors had until December 2022 to try the case. The state, by law, has 5 years to restore her to competency to try her for the murders of those 2 children, Montgomery County State's Attorney John McCarthy previously said. McCarthy said Wednesday it's possible that Hoggle could be released one day if she's found to no longer be a threat to others. He said if that happens, he's prepared to charge her again with murder. In August, a retired judge brought in to look at the case said he was not comfortable making a ruling based on written reports and wanted to hear from witnesses and ask questions of doctors. Hoggle's defense team argued that 19 doctors in a row have found she is incompetent to stand trial. Her attorney, David Felsen, said his client suffers from schizophrenia. 2 doctors, 2.5 years apart, have found not only that Ms. Hoggle was incompetent, or is incompetent, but that she was non-restorable, Felsen said. The disappearance of Sarah and Jacob Hoggle. Police began searching for the children in September 2014 after their father, Troy Turner, realized they had been missing for several days. Jacob Hoggle was last seen Sunday, September 7 at Catherine Hoggle's mother's house. Hoggle borrowed her father's car and told her parents she was taking the little boy to get pizza. She returned 3 hours later without him, telling her parents she dropped him off at a playmate's house. Police later determined that Jacob had never been at a friend's home. Sarah Hoggle was last seen early the following morning, when Hoggle told Turner, her common-law husband, that she was dropping off the child at a daycare center. When she returned home 3 hours later, she told Turner that she had taken both Jacob and Sarah to the unknown daycare. Police said that Turner, who works nights, hadn't known that Jacob had never come home after visiting his grandmother's house. Later that day, when Turner asked Hoggle about picking up their children from the daycare, Hoggle would not tell him where they were. Hoggle herself then disappeared for several days after Turner tried to take her to police to report the children's disappearance. She was later found with an altered appearance and arrested. Police charged Hoggle with misdemeanor child neglect, abduction and hindering law enforcement. In 2017, she was charged with 2 counts of murder. Hoggle children believed dead after Catherine Hoggle's arrest. She claimed she left the children with someone, but she has never said with whom or where they might be. She told police the children were alive and safe. Montgomery County Police searched more than 14,000 acres of land in hopes of finding Jacob and Sarah. But police transitioned to a homicide investigation a few days after their disappearance based on the length of time and their 15-hour interrogation of Hoggle. Turner organized numerous searches for Sarah and Jacob in the weeks and months after they disappeared, and handed out thousands of flyers with their photos. "I miss my kids. I want them home," Turner has said. In 2017, after years of hoping that his 2 children were alive, Turner said he was certain that their mother murdered them. "Catherine Hoggle murdered my children and I hope Sarah and Jacob get the justice they deserve," Turner said. "I have held out hope that something else may have happened as I think that any parent under these circumstances would, but it has always been a faint hope and I know now with the passage of time that Catherine killed my babies." September 7, 2023. 9 years later, families still seeking answers in Hoggle children disappearance. 9 years after then 3-year-old Sarah and 2-year-old Jacob Hoggle were last seen, their family is still searching for answers. The 2 youngest children of Catherine Hoggle disappeared on September 7, 2014. They were last seen in their mother's care and have never been found. Hoggle was arrested days later and charged initially with misdemeanor offenses. 3 years later, Montgomery County prosecutors secured an indictment charging her with 2 counts of first-degree murder. In December 2017, a judge initially ruled that Hoggle was incompetent to stand trial, concluding that she was a danger to herself or to others. Under state law, authorities have 5 years to restore Hoggle to competence before the charges must be dismissed. Citing that limit, a judge dismissed both counts of first-degree murder last November and ordered Hoggle involuntarily committed because she remains a danger to herself and others. Hoggle had a history of schizophrenia and was treated with antipsychotic medications following her arrest. She had been held in a maximum security psychiatric hospital since her 2014 arrest. At the time charges were dropped, Montgomery County State's Attorney John McCarthy said that he was prepared to charge her again with murder if she were to be released. Troy Turner, the children's father, said he believes that Hoggle is mentally ill, but feigning incompetency. "This fight's not over for me and my family," Turner said to the Associated Press last year. "We're going to continue to pursue justice." September 7, 2024. No happy ending. 10 years after Sarah, Jacob Hoggle went missing, father grapples with lack of progress in case. Although it's been 10 years since Troy Turner's children, 3-year-old Sarah and 2-year-old Jacob Hoggle, went missing, he said it feels like no time has passed. He still has as few answers as he had in 2014. "I say this, not negating the support that we've had or the work that people have put into it," Turner said. "We realize that, we appreciate that, but it just feels like no one is helping us. It feels like no one who is in a position to help is willing to help, and it's just frustrating." Sarah and Jacob were last seen with their mother, Catherine Hoggle, on Labor Day in 2014. Since their disappearance, Turner has been on the front lines searching for them, hosting annual vigils, testifying in court and speaking with the media. Despite his efforts, the community's help and the work of Montgomery County detectives, Sarah and Jacob are nowhere to be found. "If I find my children in the woods somewhere buried, that's not closure," Turner said. "My kids aren't here. That hole just gets bigger. There's no happy ending here, no matter what happened, no matter what you want to believe." Turner said his mind knows they are no longer alive, but in his heart, as a father, he believes they're still out there. He even still contemplates several theories, such as the children living happily somewhere with a new family. Other, more gruesome theories of what happened also cross his mind. But regardless of if he finds them alive or dead, he wants them home. "In the end, reality is, what I'll probably find is what's unfortunately left of them, their bodies," Turner said. "It's a terrible thing to know. But there's people who even ask, wouldn't it be better if you never found them? At least you can kind of hang on to hope." "No, because it's not about me. It's about them and they deserve better than this." During an interview with WTOP, Turner said his only focus is finding his children and that he's frustrated that so much attention from them has been taken away by their mother's court proceedings. Hoggle was indicted on 2 counts of murder in 2017, but after she was continuously found incompetent to stand trial, the charges were dropped in 2022. Under Maryland law, authorities have 5 years to restore a defendant to competency, before felony charges must be dropped. For Catherine, "If I had anything to say to her, it would just tell the truth, because that's the whole thing. You have someone who has the key to all this, who knows the answers, and she just won't say it," Turner said. Catherine is civilly committed at the Clifton T. Perkins Hospital Center in Jessup, Maryland, deemed as a danger to herself or others. She has a history of schizophrenia and was treated with antipsychotic medications after her arrest. "I've never, ever denied that Catherine is mentally ill," Turner said. "In fact, I've said the opposite. I tried to get her help. But when you look at the system, it's not doing anyone justice, including Catherine Hoggle at this point." While continuing to look for answers, Turner has turned his attention to advocating for changes in legislation. But while he has lost faith in the system, he said he believes in those who have stuck by his side from the beginning, such as Montgomery County State's Attorney John McCarthy. When the charges against Catherine were dropped, McCarthy said if her condition improves and she is released, he intends to recharge her. In a recent interview with WTOP's Neil Augenstein, McCarthy doubled down on that commitment. "I believe that he does care about my kids," Turner said. "I believe that he does care what happens in the county. I think he's a good man overall, and I think he's going to do the right thing." In honor of Sarah and Jacob, Turner said the family will have a private prayer at church. They also worked with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children to create age progression photos and hope that it brings renewed attention. Sarah would have been 13 years old and Jacob 12 years old this year.
One of the things I would say with the age progression photos is we want them out there because we want people to understand that no matter what the situation is, my kids deserve to come home and deserve to be loved on and taken care of. I'm praying that the age progression photos jog somebody's memory, remind them of what happened, and maybe as they think about what happened, they'll be like, you know what, I did see this, that was kind of weird. Even if you think it's meaningless, just come forward and say it. As a dad, I want to have hope. And as a father, obviously I love my kids and I want to hope that in some way they're still there. It's been 10 birthdays, it's been 10 Christmases, 10 Easters, 10 Thanksgivings, 10 school year starts where you go, they're supposed to be here for this. It's like I keep telling people, we're going to keep fighting. The fight may change, but we're going to keep fighting. We're going to continue to do what we can do for Sarah and Jacob. We will find them or die looking for them.
Missing Sarah and Jacob Hoggle, new age progression images. September 7, 2024, marked the 10th anniversary of the disappearance of Sarah and Jacob Hoggle, who were just 3 and 2 years old when they vanished from their hometown in Montgomery County, Maryland. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC, has released new age progression images of the siblings, offering a glimpse of what they may look like today at ages 13 and 12. Their father, Troy Turner, has never given up hope in bringing his children home. Sarah and Jacob were last seen in the care of their mother, Catherine Hoggle, on Labor Day weekend 2014. Catherine told Troy she dropped the children off at daycare, but when it was time to pick them up, Troy said she couldn't tell him where they were. After hours of driving from place to place searching for Sarah and Jacob, Troy said he and Catherine stopped at a fast food restaurant. While he waited in the car, Catherine went inside, then slipped out the back door. Troy said when he realized she had taken off, he called police and reported all 3 of them missing, Catherine, Sarah and Jacob. Several days later, Catherine was found wandering the streets of Germantown, Maryland. Police arrested her. The children were nowhere to be found and are still missing today. Even though the children are still missing, their mother was charged with murder, but a judge found her not competent to stand trial and ordered her to a maximum security psychiatric hospital, where she remains today. She still claims her children are safe. For the past 10 years the focus has been on her and whether she was competent to stand trial, said Troy. I want the focus to be put back on finding my children. It is definitely time to have some movement in the case. If someone knows anything, if anyone saw anything, it's time to come forward. It's past time, John Bischoff, who oversees our Missing Children Division, said NCMEC will never stop looking for Sarah and Jacob. 10 seconds of not knowing where your children are is too long, let alone 10 years, said Bischoff. An age progression reinvigorates the community and lets them know that a child is still missing. NCMEC is an organization based on hope that all missing children will come home one day. We will continue to provide any and all resources to law enforcement and to the family until Sarah and Jacob are found. If you have any information about the Hoggle children, please call NCMEC at 1-800-843-5688, or Montgomery County Police at 301-279-8000.
yeah. Everybody knows that I'm breaking down. Everybody knows I ain't faking now. Everybody knows my heart's vacant now. Yeah, she hates me now, I made mistakes but now I don't ever wanna be alone. I don't really ever feel at home. On my own, in the zone, that's the only way I know. Feeling low, about to blow back up. Here I won't ever let the doubt creep in. Gotta pop a couple more aspirin. I don't think I'll ever let you in. Easier to break it off best friends. I don't really understand myself. I don't really understand, need help. I don't wanna be left on the shelf. Couldn't even hear me if I yelled. It's so cold outside, I'm alone